Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
Hello viewers, the evil of drug abuse has spread all over the world and our country is no exception. It has snuffed out the lives of millions, especially youth, in the prime of their life. To the unsuspecting person, it conjures up images of instant nirvana, but in actuality, it leads to untold misery, physically and mentally, for the person, family, and society, and subsequently premature death. In today's episode, we will talk about drug abuse and drug addiction in its different facets and how it affects the lives of the millions.
For centuries, people have been experimenting with mind and mood-altering substances, from indigenous plant extracts to synthetic chemical concoctions, be it a shaman, sannyasi, or a man on the streets. This century has witnessed the proliferation of newer substances of abuse, which promise exciting highs and mind-blowing experiences, leaving the unsuspecting user trapped in a hell of his own making, struggling to cope with life.
The scientific definition of a drug is a substance which alters the function or nature of a living organism. It covers almost everything that we ingest, inhale, absorb, or inject. It covers over-the-counter medicines, under-the-counter medicines, illegal medicines, beverages, or even food. Our focus will be on psychoactive drugs which alter behavior.
In very simple terms, one group of drugs are those which have been used and are used universally for recreational purposes. This group of drugs include alcohol, the tobacco, and including tea and coffee. They are used universally and acceptable, but their ill effects on health, physical and mental, are quite widespread.
From very early times, we have had our patterns of drug abuse, the most significant being the natural substances of abuse. One is opium on the one hand, and the other is cannabis on the other hand.
In India, also the use of opium and cannabis is quite widespread in different regions. The third group of drugs, which are of more recent origin, are the drugs which are synthetic in nature, like morphine, pethidine, or even heroin.
We also have the pattern of abuse of the medicinal drugs, the drugs which are used for medical purposes, abused by individuals.
But even drugs like tranquilizers, diazepam, or other group of drugs are quite widespread, and their harmful effects on the individual and the family is well known.
Coming to the difference between drug abuse and drug dependence, it is a difference in degree. Nobody start drug use thinking that I am going to become a drug dependent person. They start it as an occasional drug user, then it becomes a habitual user, then it becomes a compulsive user, and finally a drug addict.
Drugs are definitely addictive and they kill, slowly but surely. There are a lot of facts about drug abuse which not many people know about, but unfortunately there are also a lot of myths and misconceptions. These myths make people start taking drugs and then continue to become addicts.
Small quantities are not addictive.
Even trying once can get you hooked.
Drugs improve concentration and performance.
In fact, they depress brain activity and reflexes.
Drugs relieve tensions and depression.
The relief is only temporary.
Strong-willed do not become addicted.
But physical dependence develops and anybody can get addicted.
Some drugs are not harmful.
In fact, all drugs are dangerous when abused.
Actually, we used to take pride in the fact that basically we are a society who doesn't drink, who doesn't smoke, who doesn't take drugs. But then we found that in our midst even the poor people who could not afford 2 meals a day, he could not support his family, he was taking not only alcohol but also major drugs of abuse like heroin, like smack, and spending the entire money in that.
Definitely, there is an increase in the prevalence of the problem, may not be as much as what is happening in the West, may not be to the magnitude of what is happening in the West, but certainly it is the abuse is increasing, and it has to be a matter of great concern for anybody concerned with the society.
And initially we thought that perhaps the problem is amongst college students, amongst public schools, but then we found that it was not only there, but not only in the big cities, but the problem has gone beyond the ordinary student, but even the poor, the government schools, the ordinary man on the street, the rickshaw puller, the scooter driver.
मेरी जनाब 40 साल से यहाँ बाड़ा हिंदराव में दुकान है.
I've been here since past 40 years. Earlier, people used to abuse alcohol, bhang, etc. But these days, a wide variety of drugs are available, and some have become addicted to heroin.
इस्तेमाल करते हैं और दीगर और चीज़ें इस्तेमाल करते हैं. ये मैं जब स्कूल में पढ़ता था.
In 78, when I was still in school, I started abusing drugs.
जब से पीना चालू कर दिया. बहुत उम्र से पीते हैं.
I've been addicted since a long time. I also started in 78. It's been about 17-18 years now.
I was born in Poland, but I spent more than 10 years of my life in Canada, so I have a very good comparison of the West and Europe, and now also I'm beginning to know more and more about India, and I can say that the drug problem, wherever you go, is a very big problem.
And with 17 or 18 years, we was some friends together, and it was also naturally to take cannabis.
I started off when I was about 19 years old. I did not like, and this will quite possibly be contradicted by other addicts and alcoholics, I did not like the taste of either liquor, and I did not like what hashish, which is charas or ganja, did to me or to my mind. I did not enjoy it.
I was looking for many different things. I was trying many different things. And when I started to take marijuana, I found that it was something very good because it introduced me to a different stages of consciousness.
The commonly held beliefs and misconceptions play a contributory role in spreading the menace of drug abuse.
There are multiplicity of causes for drug abuse. Some are related with the personal factors, some are related with the family factors, and some are related with the social factors.
For some people, it may be their quest for an experimentation, and they start using it without realizing that they can become addicted to it. For other group of people, it may be a temporary relief they are seeking from the stresses and strains of everyday life.
At the personality level, a person who is addicted, he tends to lose confidence, he feels he is misfit in the society around.
There may be a peer group influence. They want to feel they are respected by the peer group. Then there may be individuals who are modeled on some of the characters which they have seen. Whatever it is, basically they all seek shortcut to human experiences.
Some of the causes could be related to the economic causes, like consistent frustration after poverty, a person is not able to fulfill his aspirations.
I started with friends and then got addicted. Just to get over my tensions and pass time.
I wondered why I took it in the first place. I could not find a reason. I pretended most of the time that yes, I was having a good time, that there was a certain pleasure, there was a certain euphoria that I derived from it. But inside of me, no, it was not giving me the high.
ladies have a practice of, once if they get some relief with some prescription, without going to the doctor again, they keep on taking those drugs for a long time. Very simple example I can quote here is the use of these analgesics.
People start taking initially in some cases without medical advice for getting sleep, and it starts from there. However, over a period of time, in number of cases, it leads to addiction. So it's important that these type of products should not be self-administered.
Intake of drugs definitely interferes with her normal physiology and later on gives rise to the depression or other emotional disturbances.
But when children, for one reason or another, break away from their family, when you have parents who are both of them working and leaving their children unattended for much of the day, or in institutions where they're not getting enough supervision, those are the times when this kind of influence in terms of drug taking, smoking, glue sniffing and other things that can start at quite a young age and can progress through to other more serious drugs later in life.
Needless to say that drugs are harmful for the person. They affect the person's body and the mind. Here is Dr. Nayak, who is disabled due to opiate injections after starting them as painkiller.
Disability of limbs, and also I can't flex my these forearms, both the forearms, and I also cannot walk properly. The gait has been changed, and that is gait means the walking style has been changed. The day by day my health is deteriorating.
और मैं ब्राउन शुगर शुरू किया.
I started taking brown sugar and my problems worsened. I would feel dizzy, my legs trembled, I had pain all over.
Continued use of drugs leads to increased tolerance, resulting in greater intake of drugs, setting a vicious cycle. This leads to harmful effects on the body in the form of diminished appetite and sleep, weight loss and imbalances in the body metabolism. This increases the risk of infections and other health problems.
It is not only the body but also the mind of the drug addict that gets affected. It is seen that over a period of time there are changes in a person's personality which take place. There are also certain psychological consequences of drug abuse. All these have short-term and long-term implications.
There was, the personality did change, the mood did get affected, the mind was altered, but it was not the euphoria that I had read about.
After a year of taking drugs, I've noticed that I was not so careful anymore. I was not so attentive, but I started to neglect some of my responsibility, and I also saw this happening in my friends. So this started me to think that something is not completely right.
Drugs ruin a person's relationship both in the family and outside. This is reflected in tense family relations, verbal or physical violence, wife or child abuse, marital difficulties.
I was so desperate that I would beat up my wife, shout at my mother and sister. I would snatch away the food from my children. I could not afford to feed them. We would fight often. If I wouldn't get the money, I would fight.
Only my son is the earning member. Do you think we can survive on that? Do I look after my children or his addiction?
Initially, when person takes up to the drugs, that chemical affects his mind and the body, but gradually his mental powers, his intellectual abilities and a moral strength goes on decreasing, and he will start stealing small articles from house and even from the neighborhood.
To get the money, addicts start stealing. It could be just about anything. They sell it and get money to buy drugs.
किसी का साइकिल गायब हो रहा है, इस तरह यानी पीने के लिए सब चीजें लोग लाकर बेचकर खा जाते हैं.
All the addicts steal, only about 10% earn, and others indulge in petty thefts. These people steal in the nights and sleep during the day. Being a chowkidar, I am sick and tired of them.
And it's a very important thing why we should develop awareness against drugs, because there is a very thin demarcating line between a drug addict and a criminal.
The Psychotropic Substance Act is marijuana, ganja, heroin, opium, hashish, brown sugar, other LSD drugs. And if one possesses such drugs, one is guilty under the Act. And the minimum punishment prescribed under the Act is 5 years and ₹50,000. Even small quantity possession is also an offence.
Drug abuse is a costly habit. It has long-term financial implications for the person as well as the family. There are financial losses due to person not working, drugs themselves are costly, and the health-related problems also lead to financial losses.
Even when both partners earn, it's difficult to manage. What will happen if there's only one member earning? He's a small kid and manages to earn 30 to 40 rupees a day. How do you expect me to manage with that? When his friends saw that he was financially sound, they were after him. They forced him into addiction. I was so happy before marriage. This addiction has shattered my life.
Whatever the reasons for starting off abuse of drugs, it normally worsens because people around are not able to identify the early signs of drug addiction. It is important because if drug abuse is not identified early, then it leads to long-term consequences and addiction. These are some of the signs and symptoms of early addiction.
Initially, person may take up to drugs for any cause. He may feel a pleasure while taking drugs, but after some time, always there are certain signs like person is not able to sleep properly, and in order to meet the financial needs, a youth may start stealing small articles from the family, from the neighborhood. He may spend lot of time in the toilet. Physical appearance also changes. Person will lose weight, will become careless about his appearance, dress, etc.
None of the warning signs of addiction singly make a person a drug addict. It is the combination of all these factors. Yet, if there is any doubt, it must be followed up. And if there are definite signs of drug addiction, then something must be done immediately before it is too late.
Detoxification and hospitalization is only one stage in the management of drug addiction. In fact, that is the first stage only. And after that is accomplished, I would say the real struggle or the real challenge of the treatment of drug addiction starts after this is over. Because once the person comes out of the drug, the withdrawal features we control in the detox stage.
I feel restlessness. I was not able to work properly, and also I cannot take food. This loose motion, and also running the nose, watering the eyes, and also I cannot sleep, and also it became restlessness. These are the withdrawal effects.
मतलब इसमें पीने के बाद बदन जो है टूटता है.
There is pain all over which gets all right if you take smack. If you don't take, the addict is like a fish without water.
समुद्र से मछली को बाहर निकाल दोगे तो वो तड़प के मर जाती है. उसी तरह इसमें क्या कहा है?
It is not just an individual illness, it's a family illness, which means the entire family is affected.
Yes, there could be something wrong with the person who's having alcoholism or drug addiction at a personality level. But at the same time, there could be certain maintenance factors in the individual which can be in the family.
Like I said earlier, it's meant treatment for the entire family. When it's just not looking at the addict coming into treatment, it's also the entire family coming into a process of treatment.
Subsequently, starts the phase of rehabilitation, during which the person gets back into the society, work, and becomes an integral part of the society. Unless this phase is looked after, relapses are very, very common.
The rejection by family members and society, which is a major factor, I feel, which prompts a person to go back to it. Other reasons which contribute can be the social and the occupational problems which he has faced because of his habit.
Relapse rate, it's all because of the family members also. They are sometimes suspecting that his child is not has not left it. Sometime after even treatment, society is not accepting them. They are not getting job in the society.
Some other factors can be the depression or the underlying psychological problems which has prompted him to take the drug.
Prevention is better than cure is very apt in drug addiction. And that is why it is important to prevent drug abuse at all levels, at the level of the individual, the family, and the society.
Take keen interest in your child's activities. Be honest with your children. Have open discussions with them. Be aware of your children's friends. Educate yourself and your children about drugs. Encourage participation in healthy activities. Extend your support, warmth, and guidance. Set an example by not using drugs or alcohol. Recognize early signs of addiction and seek help. Tips for youth. Learn to say no to drugs. Keep yourself busy in sports and hobbies. Avoid bad company. Work towards clear-cut goals. Be aware of the ill effects of drugs. When in trouble, discuss with your elders, family members, or friends. Do not try it even once.
I do different kinds of roles to make you all laugh and feel relaxed in general. Laughter is the best known medicine in the world, as you all know. But there may still be times when you feel down and depressed. Remember, drugs and alcohol is not an answer to this.
Substance abuse of any kind, when left unchecked, can leave a person wrecked, physically, mentally, socially, and morally. It is a duty we must all perform to ourselves and the society to stay away from drugs, because taking it only once can get one hooked on for life. You need only one good reason to say no, and learn to say no to drugs.
Silent in your tears, wasted in your years. When you cry alone. Recourse to fantasy, living with insanity. Another night beside the phone. Mind, feel the pain. Seek your meaning by my watch. Gauge the war within. Addictions in the bin. Curl up with your memories. Togetherness and harmony. Watch your mind.